Hello, fellow Whovians, and welcome to the first episode of the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS, where we're doing of the new year of 2021, 2020. Goodbye, thank you. Exterminate that year. Yeah, we are starting brand new, and we are happy to be entering the very first episode of 2021, where we are reviewing Revolution of the Daleks. So, without further ado, let's get it started. My name is Christian Basil. Years ago, I had an idea. I got myself a TARDIS. Took it to new places, met a lot of new people, took some great pictures, and talked Doctor Who. From Krypton Radio and the creators of the Hanging With web show, this is the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. Join me on my latest adventures and become part of the legend. We are happy to exterminate 2020. That was a crap year. We did not like 2020. We do not like it at all. And that's not it. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS, our very first episode of 2021. We are welcome here. I hope you had a wonderful, safe, and enjoyable holiday, and we all are hoping that 2021 will, we said that for 2020. Now I'm afraid to say it on 2021. So I'm like, I hope everything works out for you guys in 2021 there. Let me introduce you to our panelists today who are going to be helping us. We're going to be doing the review of Revolution of the Daleks. So spoiler alert, if you have not seen the episode, please put this on hold right now. Skip it, come back to it later, because we are going to be talking about spoilers. We're going to be talking about, maybe certain new companions have just shown up, things like that. So spoiler alert, just put us on hold, watch the episode. Was very fun, but let's go ahead and start it off with there. First of all, I'm going to go. Yeah, there we go. I got it right. We're going to start off with Mike Faber from the Earth Station Who podcast. How you doing there, Mike?
Hey guys, Happy New Year, everybody! It is so great to talk to you guys this year. Thank you for having me as part of this show. Just got done picking my jaw up off the floor and wiping my eyes a little bit. I will admit to it. Yeah.
Well,
so it's pretty awesome.
We're going to explain about what Mike's talking about in just a few moments there.
Oh, and yeah, of course.
Lovely author of the Rite of Wand series, Mackenzie Floor. How you doing, Mackenzie? Welcome back.
Happy New Year, everybody. Glad to be here for another exciting episode of our podcast.
There you go. Coming out from Dr. Freedom himself, Brian Burress on the YouTube channel. How you doing there, Brian?
I'm just thankful that 2020 is over. I couldn't stand another minute of it. Like, what's next? The meteor of death? It's like, do I have to get Aerosmith and somebody onto a shuttle to go save us? Oh, it's crazy.
No. I you know what? I think I mentioned this in the last episode, but I got to give kudos to Match.com for their commercial. I don't know if you saw that. Has anybody seen that?
It's a brilliant commercial.
That was a brilliant commercial. I got to give them credit for that. But if you get a chance, you could probably find it on the YouTube. Just type in Match.com Satan in 2020, and it was just a brilliant episode out there. Speaking of brilliant episodes from Husbands Talking More or Less podcast, we've got Mr. Kevo Reese. How you doing there, Kevo? Happy New Year to you, sir.
Happy New Year to everyone. I've got my little Dalek friend here with me too.
I love it.
His name is Eggs.
How was your New Year? How are you and Kevo? How are you and Nico handling out for the New Year out there? How'd you guys celebrate?
Really, really, really low key. We watched the Millennium episode of Frasier every New Year's, and that's just how we celebrate. Just stay at home. We're homebodies. We're boring.
No, that's right. I think because of what was going on this year, I think a lot of people are staying home. In fact, I was watching the Dick Clark special, and it was like Yeah, not Dick himself, but I'm just like
they dug him up again this year.
They still call it the Dick Clark special, but I think it's run by Ryan Seacrest. But they were showing on the street the social distancing, and I was just like, "Wow!" I did think about it, but it's one of those things that it doesn't process until you actually see it in action. And when I saw, I'm like, "Oh my God, they're social distancing on the street." I was just like, "They're not piled on into each other as they are." Yeah. Speaking of piled on, because my segue stank, here comes Melanie. Melanie, I took her out of the stream. Melanie D.
Don't let him play
teleport it.
I know, right? I'm about to... there. Oh my God! So hi everybody. Welcome to 2021. Hopefully it's gonna be a lot better than 2020. But Happy New Year! We're back. It's the first podcast of 2021 for us. So and live stream and all that kind of fun stuff. So.
There you go. And again, we are going to be reviewing the episode Revolution of the Daleks. And there's a lot of stuff in there, some good stuff, some interesting stuff, some stuff that we had some questions with. And it's interesting, too, because we actually have a little private PM that we talk to each other. And I had to go like, guys, save it for the episode. Don't talk about this.
And we were all trying to be good, too, of not being spoilery. But then at some points, we're just like, what?
Oh, my. So there you go. So also don't forget, this is a live feed, live chat. We want to thank everybody who's joined us on the Wizard World side of things. We want to thank everybody who's on the Traveling TARDIS page as well. If you're watching this live on the YouTube channel from HWWS. Also, if you're watching on our Twitch channel, please, and if you are not familiar with us, if you're on the Wizard World side or you're watching from Twitch, you're more than welcome to go to our Facebook page, the Traveling TARDIS, facebook.com, the Traveling TARDIS. We are our subscriber, our people that are joining us are just mounting up, and at this point, it's just I'm being obnoxious there.
Yes,
yes.
But Catherine says, "Hello, guys from Quebec. So cool! Wow,
Bonjour.
Doctor Who, and I'm excited. And Doctor Who: Revolution of the Daleks, and Happy New Year, 2021, guys. And by the way, Catherine, you have the best profile pic. Sorry, poor Doctor will always be my first Doctor. See the little scarf. He's in here.
And
here somewhere."
And also, don't forget, we are now doing. Oh, look at it! I forgot to edit this. Now I got to edit this there. Oh, Skylar, Willard Skylar from Skylar. Oh gosh,
Pillow Talk with Willow.
No. What is her company called though? I know Pillow Talk with Willow. You got to check it out.
Podcast she has with the Hanging With over at the HWWS Web TV as well. So hi Willow. She says, "Good evening, Willow. My fellow Whovians. Happy New Year."
Gotcha. And don't forget
one last one, Gary Peters.
Sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Christian Toast. Okay, now.
Wow.
Mr. Gary Peters from Virginia. And then, folks, for those of you who are joining us on the live feed, yes, live chat with Team TARDIS here, the Traveling TARDIS scene. We're discussing Revolution of the Daleks. We're doing our review. Any spoilers? If you're going to hear it now, this is your fault. Sorry. We warned you. So, without further ado, we did a rating system beforehand for our predictions on how we felt about the episode that was upcoming. We're going to start off with Mike. Mike, originally when we did our predictions, I got some good news for everybody who did predictions earlier about their numbers and the predictions there now. Mike, you gave the prediction of how you felt about the episode a 6. What is your number now?
I'm going to actually push it up, folks, and we are going to give it an 8.
We're going to give it an 8 there.
And a solid 8, a really solid.
Solid 8. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Melanie, you gave it a 5.
Originally.
What is your number now? What do you rate this episode? 9. Wow.
Much flail, but things to keep it from a 10.
Gotcha there. Dr. Freedom, Mr. Brian Buress. You had earlier rated this an 8 in your predictions. What do you rate it now? There's only 2 places you can go up if you're going up.
I got to stay an 8.
He stayed an 8. Okay.
Yeah, it was very exceptional, but there's a few things I got to talk about it later.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Kevin Reese, you from the Husbands Talking More or Less podcast, please join them and check him out there. Kevo, you gave it a 7 earlier for your prediction. Did you go up or down? What's your number now?
It's 8.
Okay, so you went up as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Episodes going up and up and up and up and up. And Mackenzie with the right of wands.
I also went up like everybody else. I started as a 7 and I went up to an 8.
Awesome there. Okay, so all of the scores went up. I'm going to hold mine to the end of the show. Hey,
damn you.
Don't be Brad. We're keeping it real out there. But Mike, I'm going to start with you since you gave us your first score. Going from 6 to 8, why did you rate what you did, and why did it go up?
I thought the story actually moved really well. The reason originally I gave it a 6 is because of Chibnall, and we talked a ton about people's thoughts on Chibnall, especially in the preview episode that we did a couple days ago. Chibnall runs hot and cold, but he showed me something tonight. He writes a really good Dalek story. He's 2 for 2 with me for Dalek stories, and I enjoyed it a lot. The story didn't really lag all that much. It moved really well. There's a lot of still spinning plates that they didn't even touch on in that they've opened and everything. But I enjoyed the story, and pretty much the characterization of the Doctor. The Doctor actually listened and talked to her companions for once. And that was one of the things that was missing a lot, especially all the crap they gave last season about with Graham and the cancer story. They didn't touch on that at all, but they, she talked to Ryan and told her true feelings and everything. This is the most in-depth that we got with Ryan, I think, the whole time he was on the show.
Gotcha. And especially with Resolution, where I thought that, and I'm going to agree with you on that, because I thought, when they brought his dad in, we got something more out of it. And I didn't think we had enough, but I'm going to agree with you that we got more Ryan, especially now that he was hinting what was going to happen at the end of the episode as far as things were concerned, the way it turned out there. I wrote a note that says, teas and burgers, food trucks will kill you. So I did not know. I thought that was very British that there's teas and burgers. There's a teas and burgers food truck out there, but I liked it. I kind of liked it out there. That was great.
It was an enjoyable episode, and it was a great way to spend New Year's evening. And it was great because this probably is going to be the only new Doctor Who we're going to get until late 2021 at the earliest. So savor it like a fine wine.
Savor it, and it's only going to be what we got, like 8 episodes, if I'm not mistaken, 8 total episodes, and that includes the holiday special going into that year. It is what it is, and hopefully things will change as we are going into the new year. Then don't forget, folks, if you want to chat, add to your stuff. You can also rate it too if you want to do it. We do Traveling TARDIS 1 through 10, 1 being just absolute suck and 10 being absolutely perfect. As far as episodes concerned, just type in your chats on the YouTube channel or on the Facebook page or on your Twitch channel there. Without further ado, now, Melanie, I'm going to go to you, but we've got some bills to pay. So when we get back, we're going to be continuing our discussion of our review of Revolution of the Daleks. When we return, please continue to stay logged on, tuned in, become part of the legend.
Bateman.
What's the Bateman?
A novel set in Florida, written by Florida author D.L. Havlin. Suspense, mystery, and murder.
Evidence is in the bait.
The Bateman is available at local bookstores and online.
Whatever is going on.
Author Cindy Kep is writing on the edge. Books include Remnant in the Stars, The Loudest Actions, Lines of Succession, Mindstorm, Condemned Courier, the Yerushalayim series, and Animal Eye. Find author Cindy Kep at CKOEPP.com today. Deborah Parmley's Jenna's Christmas Wish.
Santa, if there's one thing I want for Christmas more than anything, it's someone to spend Christmas with. someone who really wants me to be there.
Head to the mountains of East Tennessee with romance author Jenna Hart for a Christmas writer's workshop. Since her mother passed after a long illness, Jenna has had one wish. She doesn't want to spend Christmas alone. Meeting Niccolo Maldini, cover model and actor, could make more than Jenna's Christmas wish come true. Unless Ember, Niccolo's ex-girlfriend, does something crazy to stop them from being together. It's a mountain Christmas romance you won't want to miss in Deborah Parmley's Jenna's Christmas Wish. Now on Amazon.com.
And if you're watching us, I left that banner up there. If you're watching us on the Facebook, YouTube channel, or on our Twitch channel, don't thank us. Thank our friends at geekinsider.com. Subscribe at geekinsider.com and enjoy.
At Geek Insider, we foster relationships with those in the geek sphere so we can give our audience the insider view of entertainment, tech, and more.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. My name is Christian Basil. We are here to do the review of Revolution of the Daleks. And actually, we're going to, what are we doing? I'm going to trade out spots. So Melanie was going to go up, but Kevo, I'm actually going to take you up next. You rated it a 7. And now it's an 8. Tell us a little bit about why I went up just a one little point there.
Well, and I thought about giving it an 8 when we reviewed it on the other day, and I ultimately didn't go with it because I didn't want to get my hopes up too much. But then it really surprised me. I had mentioned that I was concerned we wouldn't see the Doctor very much at all in this episode, and instead we saw her almost right away interacting with Jack and having fun. And so I thought that that was really cool, and that really helped my enjoyment of the episode. Was seeing Jack again, was really enjoying this cast, and I thought it was a cute, fun send-off. Yeah, I liked it a lot. It wasn't the best, but I think that it was a really nice episode, and it enhanced my enjoyment of Resolution from, what was it now, 3 years ago?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, good grief. And not only that, I don't know why he wrote this. Jack, great hair. I just wrote it down now. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong there.
No, I can't.
I was just like looking at him like, wow, his hair looks really nice. So I just like wrote it down as out of there. The reaction between the interaction I'm going to put up with you, Kevo. What you think about the interaction between 13 and Jack, especially?
I liked it. I like that they didn't push it into too overly flirty. Although I think that they've really shied away from Jack being pan, and I would like to see him flirting more with women. I know that that's a really weird thing for me to say as a gay man, but I would. He was originally pansexual, and he now really only flirts with guys, so I'd like to see him, be a little bit more going both ways. I loved their chemistry, though. I can't believe that there have been 2 doctors since the last time that he saw the Doctor. That's wild when I was thinking about it, when he was having that heart-to-heart with Yaz, and he was talking about his first Doctor. That was 9. That was so long ago. And, that's part of why it's really cool seeing these faces return, because now that really does go 15 years back.
Gotcha there. I just want to introduce Anisha Mulchin, who is with Diversely Geek, and she was not what part of our prediction episode, but she's here for our review episode. Nisha, tell everybody about yourself and tell us a little bit about Diversely Geek. Audio.
Nisha, you're mute.
You're muted.
You're muted, Nisha.
Oh, I thought you had me muted. I was so excited. I was like, let me not even take off that mute button. Okay. Hey, everyone. Happy New Year.
I love the shirt. I love the shirt.
Yeah. That's an amazing necklace.
And every day of the episode, I was like, yeah, what better day to wear my Dalek necklace than today? So, well, everyone knows I'm CEO and co-founder of Diversely Geek, which is a global social media-based mental wellness organization that focuses on the positive and transformative effects of fandom, especially something like Doctor Who, which was one of my absolutely first and most favorite of fandoms. I am now a published researcher, and I am working on the final phase of the book, which should be coming out sometime by April. And we are launching our brand new mental wellness mentorship program coming out hopefully in February, March. So, yay.
Nisha, you weren't here for our predictions episode, so we don't have a number for you, but what would you rate numerically this episode? And just tell us a little reason why.
Based on watching it?
Based on watching, 1 through 10.
I kind of gave my pre-2 and then this. I'm going to give it a solid 8.
Okay.
Yeah, a solid 8. And you've been with me on predictions before. You know I don't give even that high of a number to a lot of things.
Yeah.
But a solid 8. Yeah, absolutely.
What are the things that jumped out to you as far as what you liked, and a couple of things you may have gone, okay, this is a little.
Well,
10.
My family kept hearing me say, "This is a Doctor Who episode. This is a Doctor Who episode." Okay. I just felt the beauty and the vibe and the dynamic of this being an imperfect Doctor Who episode. And even as it moved along, you're like, what the heck is that? You're like, but it's still a Doctor Who episode. I can feel it. It felt not throwback. It's OG, original, but it felt home-like to me. Mm-hmm. Like I was back home. Gotcha. And it explained, it was like, yes, this is why I love this show. So that emotional connection is exactly why it got such a high rating for me.
Gotcha. We're going to jump back a little bit to somebody who was here for the predictions. We have Miss Mackenzie Floor, who rated it a 7. It's now an 8. Tell us a little bit about that, and why isn't not what could have made it a 10 for you? What was missing there? And you're coming from a storyboard aspect from it.
Yeah.
So.
This is one of the things that it's a great thing to have and a bad thing to have. I actually just came off of writing my very first script, so now I understand the structure of how something from a book to screen comes. Mm-hmm. So there was some things I was like, that didn't quite work there. But for me, the thing that really touched me was Yaz's quote, "Being without her is the worst." Because for me, that hit me right in the feels. When it came to my story, anybody who knows the background story of the Right of Wands will know how much that quote hits me right in the feels. It's just that story and that world has changed my life. And there was an incident a couple months ago where those who are struggling right now financially, I'm with you right now. A couple months ago, I almost lost my house, and I'm still very at the edge of that. And for me, where being without her, for me, it's being without my writing would literally kill me if I had to go out into the real world and do something else than what I love. So that's one of the big reasons why I gave it 8 is because I was able to connect to Yaz and the companions and actually care more than just the story itself.
Gotcha there. So moving on, Melanie, you had the biggest jump. You went from 5 to 9.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit why you decided to go into 5 to 9.
To kind of echo a little bit of Mike, going back to for all of 13's run, I've felt that Chibnall's not the strongest writer for all his episodes. Have never been like the ones I've really liked, or definitely ones I've never gone back and watched. I've just don't. It's like the Rosa episode, Rosa Parks episode. Wasn't written by him. I think the Demons of Punjab wasn't written by him. So I was kind of like, okay, it's gonna be Chibnall writing. I gave it a 5. I would go back and watch this one. I really liked it. I was absolutely floored. So, key highlights that I'll go with. Why the hell I rate so high? We didn't have just Jack as look. We've got Jack in this episode.
Right.
He was in here. He was in here constantly. For me, this was actually really well written for an ensemble cast that also had a villain in it that I was not really kind of enthralled with seeing him again because I didn't like the Spiders episode. I love how they even called him the Spider Guy at one point, which I was like, bravo. I didn't feel that heavy-handed kind of thing with that character being very political and a mirror to our times. I didn't feel that with this time around with like the other episode. I mean, I really liked how he was written. I liked how with here's the big bad. I like that the Daleks seemed kind of plausible and that they linked up him. I mean, there was times where I know we were kind of chatting offline, like the one, I want that 3D printer. Of course, if it's mass produce a bunch of Daleks, of course it'd be 3D printed. What? This is amazing. Sign me up.
Own 3D printer.
Where's the Kickstarter? But then it kind of made me go, okay, so you basically wrote this perfect little loophole of here, Dalek has been cloned. He's been linked up into the infrastructure. He's basically part of the Matrix. Mm-hmm. And of course he's going to be able to just go in there and have everything built and then have everything done. I did like, at first I was kind of like, didn't like the quips of who signed the purchase orders of, oh my God, the PR on this is a nightmare. But I'm like, you know what? Fine. Put the throwaway little funny one-liners from this guy. Whatever. It was kind of fun. So those I liked. So if we have Dalek in the Matrix, of course he's going to jack up the 3D printing thing, and instead of it being a nice little kind of shooting water cannons, which by the way, how are you going to have that much water in a Dalek? I was thinking
of I typed it out in the PM. It was like I need a Dalek sprinkler system in my house.
Just maybe a soda stream, but no.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. It's like, yeah, can you hook him up to a hose? It's like,
right. I'm like, but to get the weapons,
where's the closest hydrant? You know, basically.
Right. So I was really feeling this episode. I loved, and the other reason why it started originally, I was going to go 8, but Jack brought back Rose. He just said her name and said, yeah, you know, I used to travel this. Well, you know, it's kind of the Doctor, kind of Rose. I'm like, yes, just show the world that there's a lot of background in this universe. And then him kind of go, yeah, she's trapped into a parallel universe. And I would think it was Yas going, what? Huh? And you just kind of gave them all a little bit of a freak out going, yeah, you're not the first, you're not the last. Which I loved that when Jack starts telling Yaz to, I think it was Kevo's point of going on about, you know, his speech and saying, you know, you're not going to be the first. It's going to be worth the sad. Personally, I was hearing Sarah Jane and Rose talk.
Oh, thank you.
Because he said it was worth the being with the Doctor is worth the heartbreak. That's it. Wrong way. That's what that was. It was worth the sad. So it kind of. I mean, I was really just kind of feeling this episode. I mean, I would rewatch this. Lots of Jack content. There's I kind of liked the fact that the only way, how are you going to beat the Daleks? Oh, I'm going to go ahead and get more Daleks to go ahead and beat them up. And then them making making a void ship, basically, essentially turning the other TARDIS part Mach 2 into a void ship, which we've seen before when 10 did that and stuck them all in there and tossed them away. So I was really I just liked this episode. I had fun with it. So
it was just a way the void ship.
Doctor Who, I'm happy.
To me, it was like the Genesis arc in reverse.
Yes. Exactly. Now, the things that kept it from being a 10, somebody, Galaxy Amethyst Cosplay brings it up, so I'm going to just show it. And it was 4 minutes to Osaka. I'm not sure I've ever heard a time on how long it takes the TARDIS to get somewhere. That bothered me. I'll agree. To me, that was kind of from the script writer point of view, that was I need to make time to have Ryan and the Doctor talk. So here we can kind of play with the timelines a bit. So that one kind of made me go, The other part was when she got back and she said, I've been in jail. And they were like, 10 months. And I'm going, ain't no one going to bring up that Jack took how many years to get into the cell block next to them. So
it felt
I'm not saying that this is a contest of being a pity party, but sometimes a little levity.
And I'm just thinking to myself, that jail, what was that about? It just had all these prisoners who ended up in one room. They would walk across the hallway.
Awesome. I'm sorry. Angela?
I meant that part was cool, but I'm just like, okay, she's walking in, she goes into this room, then walks back out, does exercise, falls asleep, then walks right back in, saying hi to things, and then walking back. I'm just like,
I thought the little arrow things were amazing, and how everything was just.
I thought it was cool, but I just didn't understand the principle why she just went into a room with other the Pating, the Weeping Angels, which to me it was just like, hey, we're bringing the bad guys in. I was just hoping like maybe there was something more to this.
It felt like a prison where they literally lock you up and throw away the key.
Yeah,
that's what I got from it.
What they do.
Yeah,
that whole thing was the Pope in the pool. That whole entire scene was totally Pope in the pool from a structure.
My theory on the big room with the different races is that's their time out in the courtyard, like at a prison, and then everybody goes back to a cell after.
That's
exactly what I got too.
Because she was doing everything in the room. This is when you exercise. This is when you eat and everything like that. But yeah, I guess you can have the time out in the corridor.
Well, we saw Ood, we saw Sycorax, we saw the Pating again, we saw a Weeping Angel. The Silence popped up. I mean, that was all just again.
But there was a silence there.
Yeah, there was a silence.
Yeah,
it
came back after the commercial.
That totally struck me is that the Doctor is.
I got Kevin. I understand what Kevin's talking about.
Let's
catch it on.
Yeah, what was that line she quipped at the silence? Oh, wait a minute, I don't remember seeing you or something like that.
Yeah,
exactly.
You're forgetting your hair.
It was like all of these alien species who did that the Doctor put in this prison. The Doctor's walking past every day. I was like, yeah, I love the irony of this moment. It's a perfect irony.
But that's one of the reasons I feel like this episode was a little bit overpacked. I feel like we could have gotten a whole episode of the Doctor locked up with their old enemies. We could have gotten a whole episode out of the Dalek drones with no alien in it, and then introduced the whole Dalek clone thing. It felt like 3 to 4 different episodes all packed into one, which isn't necessarily awful. It's just a lot.
But the thing is, if we're going to do that, and I think I agree with you, Kevin, and going with Dr. Freedom on his idea of being a courtyard, pull out the protection grids and make her walk right in front of everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm like, now you'll have a totally different dynamic because she's going in there going like, But what if there were no protection grids and she had to face her enemies right there, the Pating, the Weeping Angels, the Silence. Now those stakes are high. And speaking of stakes are high, Brian, you're up next. But when we return, we're going to continue doing our review of Revolution of the Daleks. Please continue to stay logged on, tuned in, and become part of the legend.
Jackie Sonnenberg's My Soul to Keep is a ghost story rooted in the realities of actual cults. When 13-year-old Sky Monroe arrives at her new boarding school, all she can think about is death and connecting with the afterlife. Soon she discovers her school's spirituality group, the Guardians of Light, and they have a secret. They can speak with the dead, and the organization is a cult. But this isn't Sky's only problem. The campus house where Sky resides is haunted, and even the ghosts have an agenda. They intend on getting the souls they want. Filled with mystery and intrigue plucked straight from the headlines, author Jackie Sonnenberg's research and attention to detail give this ghost story an even more eerie atmosphere. Find My Soul to Keep on Amazon.com today.
Meet the Doctor.
I'm the Doctor.
But not the one you were expecting.
All right, sexy. It's time to go home.
Doctor Who Velocity. Streaming now.
Alien invaders enslave Earth.
Unleashing hunters into the ruin wastes.
One young survivor struggles to elude their monsters, clinging to hope.
When he's stolen off the planet by a sarcastic Starship AI, they pit their uneasy alliance against a treacherous galaxy.
Explore a whole new verse of barbarism and betrayal.
Wonder and adventure.
In the Scion series.
By Michael J. Allen.
Beginning with Book 1, Scion Conquered Earth.
Available in print, ebook, and audio on Amazon.com.
Hold on first.
Experience Samara's adventure as she imagines the people around her change into friendly cartoon animals right before her eyes. Journey with her in this poetic tale, My Cartoon Imagination at School.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. My name is Christian Basil, and just to keep in mind for our friends who are joining us on the Wizard World live feed, check us out on Facebook.com, The Traveling TARDIS. You can check it out right out here. As soon as you're done, check us out. We are growing big audience, big audience, and we're having a lot of stuff as we enter the new year. We've just gone through the holiday season with the 25 days of Christmas, as well as our lead up into New Year's, and we're going to have a lot more episodes coming up, as well as a lot more cool stuff for the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. Also, for those of you who are watching us and you're seeing all these cool commercials that are coming up over here, our families of sponsors, to join them on our podcast and on our radio show, you can advertise with us. Just email Sage at the Hanging With Show, or myself, Christian, at Hanging With, spelled HANGIN with Show. We take care of our sponsors as well, they take care of us. And now back to the review. Brian, you gave me your number, but did you actually give a review on this?
I haven't given a review yet. No.
Got it. Brian, you're up. Go for it. My friend.
Basically, the reason why I didn't up my score and all that is because there's a couple of things I'd have done differently, like all the talking towards the beginning. I know we had to, flash back to resolution and all that. That was necessary, to give us a little, pretext to what was going on. But all the talking between the political figures and all that, I would have put that into maybe a 30-second flashback later on in the episode where he's explaining how this began. And I would have put more time towards what was going on in the prison. The only other thing that kind of turned me off was the happy-go-lucky Grace and the Sumbo thing at the end. I think she deserves something a little bit better than that. I would have given a short montage of them, being up there, a little black and white flashback number, them, and then they both smile, look at each other, and okay, we remember Grace. We're not seeing her in this happy-go-lucky sunshine bow from nowhere. So that's the other reason why I couldn't lift it up, beyond 8 at that point.
Gotcha.
But also there was the geek in me that was kind of hoping to find out that the Shadow Proclamation had taken over Shada, and that's where this prison was set at, since the Time Lords are now out of the picture. But, of course they left it unnamed, so you never know. It may pop up later. But like I said, I'd have spent a little more time in the prison, maybe, planning a prison break, getting mixed up with some of the, as you said, mixing it up a little bit with the former adversaries. And, instead of spending all that time on the, talking back and forth at the beginning. Like I said, that could have been relegated to another thing later. But that's just me being a picky writer.
No, that's fine. I mean, those are the things that come up over here. Galaxy at this cosplay says it was okay. Good to see Captain Jack back, and I hope he's a more frequent guest. He brought some of the previous spark back to some lackluster writing. Yeah, that's why I rated so low in the predictions, because it's Chibnall. I will give my rating at the end, but I'm just not impressed with what he's been doing thus far. And then just every time I think he's got an opportunity, he either does what you mentioned, Kevin. He does a lot of. There's a lot of stuff in there, and we could have just taken this moment, or we could have just taken this moment and expanded or maybe this is a 3-part episode, where the first episode could have been her just in the jail and dealing with all of her enemies and such like that, and the second part is dealing with what's going on the planet, and the third is the finale where Captain Jack breaks her out, and then we're having the big war, and then at the last minute she's deciding, okay, we're going to send the Daleks in to wipe out the Daleks, which I thought was a cool maneuver. But I also got Jason Flincham. I hope I pronounced that right. I apologize. It was okay. Not a lot of inner excitement from most previous Doctor specials. Captain Jack brought a lot back to this episode. So a lot of people are giving a lot of positive responses to Captain Jack coming back. He's added a big contribution, especially I kind of feel he kind of ties in what I'm now considering new classic Who, meaning the Eccleston, the David Tennant, he kind of brings in the wiring back in because he mentioned Rose. And you know what? I don't know why. I kind of wanted her to have a reaction to this when he said Rose. Now, I don't know if she didn't hear him when he said it, or if she was kind of not at this point in her life. She's like, well, I'm over Rose now. But I kind of did want that flinch. I just wanted to kind of like, oh, you said that. In the same regards that he kind of brings it up, and when it was back in David Tennant. Bruce Regberg, I hope I pronounced that right as well. I enjoyed the episode more than I anticipated. There seemed to be a good number of callbacks throughout. Yeah, as I mentioned, other prisoners, Jack, reference to Jodie episodes. Jack reminisces back to his universe and his existence. Even we get the mention of Gwen at the end of the episode.
Yes.
One of the things, though, I like that he did do with Jack in this episode, it wasn't just all the time happy-go-lucky Jack as he normally is. There were scenes in here where he portrayed the fact that Jack has gained a lot of wisdom and has become kind of a mentor figure in some scenes here, and I thought it was very well played. That they've shown how he's matured a bit.
Oh yeah, and
a little bit.
Yeah, he's still same old Jack, but I think everybody was waiting for the flirtatious stage as soon as he saw 13 and like, oh, like digging the threads out here. No, he kind of pulled back. You know, it was kind of, they were on the same level almost kind of relationship there, that they kind of had the experiences because he is the immortal person and won't die there. Sheila Dedman, I loved it. Love the Rose and Gwen mentions. Love the talk Ryan and the Doctor had. Very heartfelt. Love the companion reveal at the end, which we will talk about in at the end of the episode, because that kind of just flew up when BBC America goes like, oh, by the way, here's a mention of the new companion. I'm like, what? I thought that would be cooler instead of having a mention like they did with Capaldi, where they were just having the countdown clock. If we had like maybe a silhouette or something different, that's just me. Just like if it's an introduction, we know that there's a new companion coming in, but we don't know who it is. I kind of like it if it were a little aloof. But
I agree with you, because from a screenwriting point of view, the thing that this episode missed off the rocker missed was the teaser at the very end. Instead, we had a conclusion. So really, if you were a first time just watching the episode, there was nothing on there that really enticed you to want to keep on going. Instead, we see this preview of another show, and then suddenly, oh, here's another companion that we haven't heard about. Okay. For me, I don't care about this person. Don't know who they are.
That's kind of out of their control at this point. You got to remember, filming was significantly delayed due to COVID, so they don't have a lot in hand right now.
No, go ahead.
They only did that for the U.S. They said, stay tuned for, after this preview for this new show to meet the new Doctor Who companion. In the UK, when they showed it, they just showed the credits, and then as an after credit scene, they threw in
very different.
They didn't announce it at all. So it was done
and okay, so now it's a bit of a surprise, because I remember with when the Jadoon episode, everybody was going livid because John Barrowman had made the announcement he was in the Jadoon episode. It just had premiered to the UK and did not go any further than that. And now people are going, oh, that's great, John Barrowman's back. Just like that blew that surprise out. I kind of just wish that it were something to the fact that maybe a silhouette or somebody had accidentally walked into the TARDIS or something to know that we were going to get a future companion, but we don't know who, and we would just leave it at that. And that, I think, would have brought an interest to the new season now that we know. But we got this person, and I felt it was like disconnected. It was kind of disconjointed because it just felt like, okay, by the way, here's this thing. I'm just like, okay, well, I guess that's the thing.
That's why I totally missed it at the end. It should have had more
John Bishop is a well-known, from what I understand, a well-known comedian in the UK. So having it show the way that it does as an after credit in the UK made all the sense in the world for them, because they got this huge reveal of a comedian that they would never have expected to be the next person on the show. For us, where we're not connected to his work,
right?
We needed to connect to the watch.
Exactly.
They're trying to sell the watch, so they put it out of order because of its marketing, and it makes sense. But of course, for us, I would have preferred to have seen it as an after credit. Just because it would have just flowed.
An Avenger after credit moment. Something came up at the last minute there. Bruce comes back. He says, surprise, Jack didn't do a kiss with Jodie like he did with Rose, 9, and Grant.
Yes.
Going with what Brian said, I think, it's showing that he's got a level of maturity now, that he's kind of grown out of the first day when he met the Ninth Doctor, and he's kissing the Ninth Doctor and Rose. Now he's kind of grown out. He's been the leader of Torchwood. He's gone through this, and God only knows what he's been going through since that time. Now that's just my opinion on that. I think I concur with Brian.
I would have loved the kiss, and then I would have loved 13 just kind of being cheeky and saying, you know what, it was better on the game station. Just saying that. Just being, and then moving.
Brilliant.
Okay. That would have been awesome.
That would have been brilliant.
So I wrote some notes down. The Soylent Green is people moment. So literally green. literally. The green.
That was kind of one that made me kind of go, knocked it down from me putting it in the upper echelon of, oh my God, this is a 10. Because I'm like, how did you get people to willingly just turn themselves into goop?
Right. And there was a lot of things that he just, when it comes to Chibnall's writing, it's like 42. When they came up with that plot that, they were drunk one night and they had all these security locks to get across the ship. I'm like, are you kidding me? There're just some things I'm just like, why did you even throw that in there? What's going on in there? Did any of you feel that when you saw the images of the villains of the Doctor, when Rose was mentioned, when Gwen was mentioned, that none of this was name dropping, that it felt like it was part of the story? Did any of you feel that maybe there was something that you're just name dropping, it's not really moving the story along? Or did you think everything fit? Do you think the puzzle
I felt like it was organic. It just
absolutely.
Just two old friends getting back together and sharing thoughts about previous friends.
I think it's what fans were missing in terms of laying a foundation. So we've had 2 years of missing those pieces. It's like when you weave a tapestry, right? You have to have that base, that thing that kind of ties everything together. And I feel by bringing Jack in and doing what he did, he laid foundations with Yaz, by the way. It was very strongly and poignantly important that he said, I know Yaz is the person I have to do this with. Because he didn't do it with anyone else. It was with Yaz.
Right.
But all of the other things, those name drops and everything, are laying that foundation so that we can come back to the beauty of the fandom, for New Who especially. You know what I'm saying? I felt like
that scene reminded me of more than anything was Sarah Jane with Rose.
Oh, yes.
Laying the groundwork for, there are some things that are worth getting your heart broken for.
Yep.
But also, I think there was some relation to on the planet Utopia, when Martha, when Jack and the Doctor are kind of tiffing it out. In fact, that one scene where he goes, "You did some work," and they go, "You can talk." There was that repeat of that scene out there, but there's that kind of distance between the two of them, and when they get together, they're trying to get together, but they got to work out these things that they had. Speaking of working out things, commercial break. When we return, continue to stay logged on, tuned in. We got to pay some bills and become part of the legend.
You have more options than ever before when choosing a film, a television or internet series, a book to curl up with, or even a radio show or podcast. Get to know the people who are creating for you. The Hangin' With Web Show, hosted by award-winning author and journalist G.W. Pomacher, is the internet's fastest-growing web talk show series. The Hangin' With Web Show features professional, yet casual, in-depth interviews with creative arts and entertainment pros. Meet the people behind a digital revolution in creating more quality content than ever before in the history of media. Find the Hangin' With Web Show on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, or simply go to www.hanginwithshow.com. That's www.hanginwithshow.com.
Saying these
Famous Faces and Funnies in Melbourne, Florida is leading the way in pop culture fun. From comic books and graphic novels to Funko Pops and collector's items, Famous Faces and Funnies has it all. Rick Shea and the professional team at Famous Faces and Funnies are friendly and knowledgeable. Whether you're looking for toys, props, collector treasures, or a new comic book, Famous Faces and Funnies is your one-stop shop. To find Famous Faces and Funnies on Facebook and Twitter, just type at FFF Comics.
This is the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Subscribe to us wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Also catch us on the HWWS Web TV YouTube channel. Subscribe today and become part of the legend.
If anything you must understand, it is this. If I do not find a cure, my life is forfeit.
Miata McKinnon. Rise. It is your time to participate in the Rite of Wands, in which your soul shall face the ultimate analysis. Do you accede?
Yes. This can't be the way things end.
Heed my advice, young warlock. The future you saw is only a possibility. You will be given the ability to change it.
How?
I suggest you start by studying your father's potion books.
Lachlan the Shreya has come to Iverna. I must focus solely on my work. I am afraid. I do not want to fail.
And you can catch the Rite of Wands by me, Mackenzie Floor. Once that banner disappears in front of my face, I was going to just, use that wand and make it disappear, but you did it for me, so thanks. It is now available at all fine retailers. Oh, and it's still on sale, too. It's for $5.64 on Amazon. Get it!
You better get it.
What's the deal with the banner?
I looked up, I'm like, oh, okay, Christian didn't take the banner down.
It's 2021, and you did such a perfect segue only to screw the pooch right there. Man,
you know what?
And that was the best time I've even said it. Like, yeah, you can get it off of me. Oh, and there's this banner in front of me. Oh, I drew so ridiculous.
You made it work.
Joining us, welcome back to Legend of Traveling TARDIS. This is how we professional team of podcasters. Then never mind. Thank you for joining us, dear folks. We're just wrapping
professional
up
folks.
Professional team out there. And if you want to join us on the show, please write into your chat. Please go ahead and type in if you're on the YouTube channel or the Facebook page or the Twitch. Please go ahead and do so right now. Also, you can catch us. Speaking of YouTube channel, hi Martha. I'm so mad I fell asleep at the end. Oh, wow. It's to each their own. I mean, if you fell asleep, maybe it wasn't for you. It's fine.
It happens.
It happens.
It happens to everybody. Like, I'll be watching a really good thing, and if I don't sleep on my CPAP machine the night before or something like that, I'll just clunk out in front of anything, even if I'm really into it. So.
When I was a kid, I fell asleep when it got to those scenes in Classic Who, just because it was just a little bit lengthy out there. But hey, you know what? It was. I still love it.
The emoji, she's crying, so it's not. She's not exactly pleased by it.
Nothing about it.
She's more like, I fell asleep.
Yeah, it's not angry face.
It's a long, hard night of partying, and that's what you got when you have to stay up and watch Doctor Who the next day. There. Speaking of partying, you can join us at the Hate with Web show. Family of podcasters out there. You can go to the YouTube page. You can also do a search for the Traveling TARDIS and subscribe on our YouTube page. We have a plethora of people who have joined us, including Saturday Morning Cartoons, The Kitchen Killers, Nerd Culture. We also mentioned Willis Schuyler's Pillow Talk, and the list goes on and on and on. If you've got a geekdom out there, somebody's covering it, like with Thor. Melanie, anything you can think of in mind, because my brain's fried on this one.
my brain's still thinking Doctor Who right now.
Yeah, that's completely fair.
Because there was just so many neat things that happened in this episode. Sorry.
Yeah.
Ever since somebody mentioned that two doctors have been skipped since Captain Jack was last in, I've got this scene with Capaldi stuck in my head now where he goes, "Yo, pretty boy, shut it."
I would have murdered for that.
Beautiful.
Yes.
I would pay an incredible amount of money for that episode to happen there. And join our Threadless shop. You can check out it. We got the curtain out here, the new curtain of the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. You can get your towels, your sheets, your face masks. Hey, you want to cover that phone up? There you go.
Our logo on anything.
Our logo practically on everything. Check us out on the Threadless store because this show doesn't pay for itself anymore. So it never did.
So one thing, I don't know if anybody else caught it, because I am the type of person that if I recognize character actors like crazy. So there's times where I'm like, oh my God, that person was on a Kraft macaroni and cheese commercial. my brain is just weird. So when we first saw our big bad villain, our arachnids kind of big, business mogul man, and he's talking about the what could be the next PM. I believe her name was Joe
Patterson.
Joe Patterson. Thank you. See, names, faces. I'm looking at her. I'm like, I know her. And I'm screaming at my husband. I'm like, I know her. And then all of a sudden, I went, I know where she's from. He's like, what? Because all I could see was, were you scared? It's okay. She played in Rogue One.
Yeah.
She was the nurse tech.
Yes,
that was her.
All my brain was like, they always recycle the actors from Doctor Who into other stuff. One that kind of shocked me is, do you remember A Christmas Carol? The captain of the ship who was flying it, the woman who played the captain of the ship on there. Now, flash forward to Class, who was the big baddie at the end who meets the Weeping Angels. I think she gets killed by the Weeping Angels, if I'm not mistaken. Same person. And I can't think of the actress, but she ended up in Class. But she was piloting a ship in the Christmas Carol. So it's just kind of it's kind of interesting. I usually tell people, if you got a job at the BBC and you work on Doctor Who, you've got a job for life, because you'll be a background character eventually somewhere along.
I know when you try to list all the Who actors who have also appeared in like Star Wars. It's like your mind boggled. Like I said, sadly, we just lost Jeremy Bullock not too long ago, who played the original Boba Fett.
Yep.
Star Wars, like Harry Potter, dude.
Yes.
What is it, 50 or
Oh,
something?
stop playing with your wands already.
I like
Come
it.
on.
Oh my God! Did you guys already mention that moment? By the way, when she starts to tell, when the Doctor starts to tell herself his story, did you already mention it?
Yes. She's like, let's go with the classics.
All right, I was like, oh my God, I just can't.
We got one more thing, and before we go there, Melanie, you want to show that video? If you can set that up over there, that was kind of the inspiration of what we were thinking about. There we are.
This was the video. We'll see if anybody else notices this when they started putting the little sentinels everywhere of helping out of guarding the tower, guarding touristy spots. All I could think of was this.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that. This is how you enforce a lockdown.
Yep.
And for those of you who may be listening on the podcast, I don't know if you can check it out on the YouTube channel. It's there's a YouTube video out there of a Dalek during the lockdown going up and down the empty streets and just basically telling people to stay home.
And he did a really good job with that voice and everything too. Really good job.
That was pretty awesome.
But yeah, that's all I could think of was that the Sanford police doing that with the Dalek, saying, "Hey, see, it's been proven. You can do this." And then at which point I'm like, if they do that, all people are going to do is start running around taking pictures with it.
Yeah, I was like,
and then they showed that of people taking pictures with it. I'm going, see,
we're terrible.
This works.
And folks, any final thoughts? So let me give you my number. And I went from a 5 to a 7. I jumped up a little bit up there too. For all the reasons that you guys said, there are just a lot of things that are kind of off, that are kind of just throwing me off there. There was mention of the Timeless Children, but I just, that subsided for me. Gallifrey being blown up, but then I remember the end of the Clara's episode where, Rassilon's escaped. So I'm like, there's so many questions about, blowing up Gallifrey again. Okay, what happened to Rassilon? Why is it blowing up again? And having to say again, and I appreciate that the Daleks are brought up, we have a treasure trove of bad guys in the last 50 to 60 years. We have more than one villainous Time Lord on Gallifrey. We've got Connie, we got the Monk, we got, there's so many, and you can make up more. I just wish he could go back in there and just pull out some of the stuff like RTD and Moffat did. But okay, if I'm going to see another Dalek episode, that's, it was fine.
If the next season can be more of this episode, I would be one happy clam.
I might just pull Chibnall out of the dumpster for a little.
Oh my God!
Yeah, what's he doing? Speaking of what's he doing there, folks, we want to thank everybody at Wizard World. For our friends who are on the Facebook page of the Traveling TARDIS, please subscribe and check out our friends at facebook.com Wizard World. You can also check out their merchandise at wizardworldvault.com. We want to thank them for our partnership, and we're looking for a lot more stuff as we're getting together as the new year starts, and we're hoping when we start moving into the brick and mortar, we're going to see a lot of Wizard World, but we're going to continue online here when we're putting out our contact practically on a weekly basis for you guys here talking about Doctor Who. I'm going to, I'm not even going to mention what we're going to propose for our next coming episode this coming Tuesday. It's just going to be a heck of a fun thing, and you definitely want to check it out, but we're going to put the Doctor on a level where she's going to practically take on the universe, or maybe we don't know which Doctor. I'll tell the story next week there, but we're going to have a great time. This is going to be the first official panel that's not a review, discussing and just having a great time, and the way this show runs out there. Any final thoughts, folks, before we go? Anybody want to wish you all a happy New Year?
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year!
For everyone!
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us again. Please stay. I wish I could do Melanie. I wish I could do it the Brian K. Morris way, but wash your hands. Always be amazing, or whatever he says out there. There you go. Thank you, Dr. Freedom. A little sanitizer.
Spade and neuter.
And never apologize for being awesome.
What? Dog spade and neuter. And again, please keep yourself safe out there. Happy New Year, there, folks, and join us at the Legend Traveling TARDIS Facebook page, or you can go on our website, folks. We're going to go ahead and end the show right now. We're going to stay a little bit longer for those folks who want to continue the conversation, but the audio version of this the podcast will be over. I want to thank you for joining us. Please continue to stay safe and become part of the legend. Booyah.
Podcast over. Now we just
podcast over. Audio podcast over.
Now we can curse our heads off.
Yeah. That's how it ends.
Brill, Dren, yachts.
There are a lot of things about that. I wrote like an entire essay worth of things I wanted to discuss about this show. Let me just tell you. The whole time it was on, I was writing notes. There's so many things. So many darn tropes in this episode, and that's why it did not get a higher score from me. I was like, did you have to go and do that? It's like, stop killing the wrong people. There's
I love the
yes. Oh gosh, yes. That was on. I got that one too on my list. I'm like, really? That again?
Another prime minister.
Oh my god!
Well, to me, Daleks aren't scary unless they need to kill people. Yes. You need to be the absolute evil, hateful, blah 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 blah. There needs to be a body count attached to them after a while, because you need and those deaths need to kind of hurt for the story to be good. I want to be sad that Leo is gone, because why did he go? Because of the Daleks.
Yeah, me too.
She was all kinds of crazy. That's okay.
I did really enjoy that the Daleks were taking. I liked how that they did the callback where Chibnall kind of showed that, hey, back when the Dalek was attached to the girl and then to Ryan's father, and showing, look, Daleks can kind of play puppet master to a human being, and that it did it to Leo. Because once I was like, okay, well, if he's going to incinerate it, he's just going to just push the box in, right? And he opens it up. I'm like, uh-oh, this is going to not be good. And
yeah.
Of course, there had to be that opportunity for that person to be the body snatched, So all I can think the whole episode, I know because we kept saying it in our chat, is like, boy, people have really bad memories.
Yeah,
it's
memories we never see.
Don't remember.
Oh, they don't remember. It's funny as hell.
Chibnall stole my idea.
I thoroughly loved seeing a Sycorax in there with an Ood, which I was kind of like, what the heck did this Ood do to be in prison? Because most of the Oods are kind of chill for the most part.
Those are the ones from 10.
He served
bad. Those were the ones that went crazy.
The red eye.
What are they gonna do?
That is a good question. How does a Ood lined up in a Supermax? That's kind of weird, ain't he? They're usually, so kind-hearted. That's kind
because I know when they're under control, if they're being controlled, then they're going to be evil, kind of like back on the Satan pit, or they were underneath the.
But then, there's Planet of the Ode too. So
yeah. But then we're kind of like, I was here, but then he's sitting there next to a Sycorax, and I was like, "Yay! That's a nice callback." So it was nice to finally see some callbacks to all these old ones in a way that it felt possible.
yeah. So Chibnall can now say, "I've shown some old series, old new Doctor Who."
No, use them.
So now I don't have to do. I don't need them.
Check.
Use them.
Check box. Oh, fine. They want me to do that. Check. They want me to do that. Check. I didn't mind it.
So basically, now the Doctor is a fugitive once again.
Yes,
that's
why I'm kind of like, can the Jadoon just kind of like, all right, well, I'm gonna come find you again.
Yeah,
Jadoon caught her off guard.
Yeah,
the Jadoon caught her off guard because of everything that happened and all that. That's the only reason they snatched her that first time. So,
well, at least they took care of the loose end of the second TARDIS on Earth.
Yeah,
of course.
Yes.
So
on Earth right now.
I honestly, I gotta say, did not see that coming. That actually took me by surprise that they pulled the switch. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. At first, when they all start flying into the TARDIS, I'm like, what on earth are they? Okay, I know it's bigger on the inside, but come on, people. And then they had that shot of all of them just in there, like sardines, just looking around. I was laughing like a goon. I was just thinking that was funny.
That was super cute.
It was funny as hell when you had Yaz sleeping in the TARDIS. Was that TARDIS just one room, or did? Yeah, because I thought, the TARDIS has hundreds and hundreds of rooms in it because it's, infinitely bigger.
It did seem to be a base model one, though, that they grabbed off Gallifrey, so maybe it just didn't have rooms yet. We don't know.
Yeah.
They just didn't program it to have.
What I did love, though, that they did with Yaz's character was the Post-it notes, the way she was kind of like doing the CSI thing there.
Yeah. It had it felt a lot like Torchwood to me. It was like, oh, yeah. And then having the Gwen reference, I'm like, oh, is Torchwood coming back then?
Well,
it was nice. It was nice to see her trying to be a police officer again and actually analyze the situation like a detective would. I kind of like that.
Well, when I first saw all the Daleks going into the TARDIS, I don't know why. The first thing I thought, oh my god, they're all in the swimming pool now. I
thought the same thing.
It's like,
that was the shot they opened to, where like they were all in the pool. I would
that would have been super amazing, actually.
I don't care what else you do horribly in this episode 10. They're in a pool.
Either that, or it would have been awesome. Oh, they were in Amy and Rory's room where it had the bunk beds or something.
Yes.
Jack, I love that. Jack's like, well, so where's my room? You don't have a room here. I'm like, I had a suite. I
believe it.
I don't even want to picture what Jack's suite would have in it. Okay, particularly the thing.
No,
that's why the Doctor deleted it.
It definitely wouldn't be family safe. That's for sure.
Jack, why do you have this examination table? With the well,
not enough. The Doctor was like, "There's not enough disinfectant in this world."
That's why they had to eject his room very quickly.
He pulled a River Song. Remember when River Song in The Husbands of River Song, she opened up one part of the TARDIS and it was all these alcohol. I bet you that's what Jack did. He just walked in there and cleaned the room and they said, "That's mine." God only knows what he left.
I thought, and I'm sure you guys covered it already, so is like this was a lot more they managed emotion more elegantly this time than in any other attempts that the Chibnall has tried in the past.
Yeah.
Much more elegantly and with some more smoothness to it. So I loved how much, like, you realize that there's an undercurrent of grief the entire time still going on. It hasn't stopped since season 1. Everyone knows that, right? So, but I love the way that he layered it so softly this time. I'm like, I said to Jyoti, I was like, Chibnall couldn't have written this. And I was like, it was right. And she was like, no, Mom, I checked you. I was like, okay.
Well, he has more. What, you had a whole year to figure this one out. So I'm just like, go back to your room and come out when you got a good trip that you spent more than 5 minutes on. and come up with something a little bit more we can enjoy.
I got very upset when they were in the Dalek ship. They're gonna set all the explosives, and Graham's like, "Yeah, this is great," but puts the fist up and
Ryan's like, "What the heck?"
What?
Ryan left him hanging
again. What the? But the two of them I think it makes sense now that once. When Ryan said, "I'm not going to go," Graham was all about let's go to the Moraine pregnant with the Moraine waiters, the Moraine everything, and Ryan's like, I think I'm done. I'm bowing out, and I think that whole scene was beautifully written to give each one a nice little closing arc with the Doctor. Having Graham kind of now realize, I think I need to spend more time with my grandson. I think felt more right because of the fist bump not happening, and then being able to reconcile that with the bike. So
and the grief arc.
I'm like, okay,
exactly. It was the grief arc. We started somewhere, and the entire time they're with the Doctor, that grief is an underlying, story arc. It's something that's sitting underneath, and we see them. It's written into the story, but we don't actually have the closure of the grief until now, and that's why Ryan's okay, I think, to stay. And to come back and to be his own person, because he can do it without his grandmother there. Not that he wants that, but now he knows I can do that with her without her here.
But also hinting at that a little bit, in the middle of last season too, that he was starting to regret being on the TARDIS all the time, and he was starting to think maybe I shouldn't be here. And I'm glad they carried that over into this episode,
and with the right dialogue too. Like it flowed from now. It was really
Plus,
good.
these two with Sonic, their own Sonic papers, the possibilities are endless.
I love that.
Graham's going to screw it up somehow. Graham's going to get it wrong.
Oh my goodness.
He's just going to get it wet.
Wait a minute.
And ruin it.
Here's a note that I don't think we went over this. And Kevin, I think you and I were talking in the PM about that. Can the human race not remember Daleks at all? I mean, what invasion do we?
They don't remember any alien invasion.
You had Cybermen marching around in London.
There's been times where every one of the Doctors has brought up as one companion or another says, how is the world just going to forget this? And each one, paraphrasing, has said something along the lines of, you'd be amazed what denial can do. What the human race will kind of just waste off and explain something away so they can keep going.
It's true.
But it's like forgetting COVID. I mean, it's just like it's somehow there's no way. I just like, but if that's how it's going to be.
You have folks out there who can't forget the Civil War. They don't now remember a Dalek.
Yeah.
Or the Spanish flu epidemic. How can you forget that?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm pretending that they have some cleanup crew that goes and sprays some magical elixir all over the world, so everybody just memory loss.
Men in Black.
That's what
exactly.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Men in Black is in the same world as Doctor Who.
That's why I was like, everybody gets zapped.
Exactly, but how do you explain that
make him quiet?
Aunt Susie, who got shot by the Daleks flying through the air and everything?
And I wrote down a note that said "Matrix of the Daleks," which was that one scene where we're looking up and we're seeing them all in the.
That was pretty awesome, actually.
That was awesome.
Some of the effects were pretty decent in this one. I will give them that.
I really hope we see these Daleks again. Were they all destroyed? I wasn't paying that much attention at the very end.
Well, they were modeled on the Scout Dalek, which was an original Dalek design, apparently, so we could see something like that again. Plus, they've got the prop. They'll probably reuse it.
I would love the idea of the Daleks like having a civil war with our classic Daleks, because they are different enough and they have that whole impurity thing. I think it would be really cool to see something out of that.
That's why they brought him in this episode, though. That's why they brought in the original Daleks to take out the impurity, and they even destroyed it. And they even had the one who was in that last Christmas special or holiday special, and saying, hey, I'm your scout. I have some impurities, but you can genetically make me better and everything. And then the Dalek the original Dalek said, what we do with imperfect, or and they destroyed it.
which kind of takes the continuity, because I'm going to bring in the Cult of Skaro and Daleks in Manhattan, where they experimented with crossing the human. And I actually thought maybe, and this was in the back of my mind when they were doing Revolution of the Daleks, where there would be a faction of Daleks who would, and this was just fanfic at one point, where they said, you know what, we're going to toy with emotions, because apparently they work. The human race and the Doctor and everybody has defeated us over and over and over again. Maybe if we did try to throw this in here, and they would be wiped out by their own race because of the impurities and such like that. But there've been a couple occasions where I think if I'm not mistaken, I don't remember the actual quote, but the reason why the Cult of Skaro was created, and then we saw the first human Dalek, half human, half Dalek breed in Daleks in Manhattan. So that kind of throws in the continuity. It's just like, okay, so how are these different? And there was always been that argument of pure-breeded Dalek will wipe out itself. It will kill itself once it gets anything other than what its pure intent and its creation was, i.e. Dalek itself by Rob Sherman when he blows himself up after he got touched by Rose. So I'm sorry if I'm going deep into this, but that's
you're fine.
Even Davros tampered with that idea back in Resurrection of the Daleks.
Right.
He was going to give them back certain emotions and all that, only to make them more efficient killers.
Right.
But as you saw, it didn't happen, but for very obvious reasons. But
the Daleks also remember mercy. That's the one thing that they remember, because 12 went back in time and met Davros in his younger form. Yeah. But so he was the influence that Mercy gets across. Of course, when the one Dalek meets River Song, was he shouting "Mercy, Mercy"? And it's like, that's interesting. I never even thought about that, but it's there. So I do read deep into this crap. I live and breathe.
It's not there in every iteration of the Dalek. That's what the essence is. Whenever Jodie, the Doctor bringing back this set of Daleks is not the one who would have been touched by that emotion. They would have been 100%, rigorously adhering to termination and purification. You know what I'm saying? This group are not part of that iteration. I mean, we want that to be the truth, right? Because then that would mean that hopefully a Dalek can actually evolve emotionally. They don't have to genetically be it doesn't have to be a manipulation. It could, once they have it, they could then, evolve. But we never get that chance to see them, because they all get, they get terminated, and every time that iteration happens. So I think like the story you're telling is a bigger story when they bring it back, is that we're looking at a unfortunately, a continuum of a principle of, is there a race who believes that they're more pure than anyone else, and to be the only ones that exist. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's like kind of how I saw it coming back this time. Like, again, race that says nobody's as good as us, and therefore even our own, if they have the slightest impurity, they have to be destroyed. That's
as described by Eccleston, they're the ultimate in genetic cleansing.
Exactly.
But then
I did like how in this particular episode we saw the Doctor finally have that moment again, where it was like, remember, I know we've had other episodes of, we know when do you get to see the space god, when do you have that when the Doctor realizes, I'm the Doctor, I'm gonna fix this, and that she has that moment again, and then just before, just has that I'm the Doctor speech, even though she's like kind of getting stuff ready within the TARDIS before she gets up, goes out, and then effectively kills, initiates a plan to not get rid of one set of Daleks, another set of Daleks by getting more Daleks, then get rid of them. So I'm glad that there was that I'm a Doctor speech before all of the
Just jumping back.
I love the whole concept of the fact that the Daleks are monitoring the vortex. I love that whole idea. That was very, very good. That kind of reminded me of something that you'd see in Listen to, in Big Finish, where they'd have agents sitting there monitoring the vortex for certain things, to send in the troops. I love that whole concept.
I was really happy though that Chris Noth's character, like when he was on the ship, all of a sudden grabbed this, didn't have a stalk come out of his head or something like that.
I kind of like that. I don't know why. I don't know why.
Well, the duplicates were once again that was yet another thing they borrowed from the classic series. They came from Resurrection of the Daleks.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the duplicates were first created. Now they did take them to another level when they brought them back in the new series by giving them a little stalk that comes out of their head and whatnot. But it's basically the same program, duplicates.
Now here's the thing that kind of question: if we're going to go deep into the Daleks, is can they evolve or are they just pure? Because remember, we had Victory of the Daleks where we had the Paradigm Dalek, and what did they do? They killed their original forms and became these new Power Ranger Daleks. But later, flash forward later on in the Asylum of the Daleks, they're the Daleks with the Paradigm. So, okay, we get together, or I look deep into this crap.
I think every breed of Dalek or every subset of Daleks going to think that they're the best Daleks, that they're the only Daleks, they're the pure Daleks, and every other Dalek needs to be destroyed. So, depending on which episode you're watching. And
they are capable of evolution. We've seen that throughout the series. They're very capable, especially when it involves their own survival. Because remember, the Movellans had literally almost destroyed the Dalek race completely.
Right.
And then eventually they found a way to come back and cure themselves of that, and then try to take over and become the supreme power in the universe as usual. But we've seen them evolve in leaps and bounds across the whole series. When they first started out, we didn't think they could really do much other than run around on static floors. But then, there's been alternate theories on how that came about and whatnot. But then we know they developed space travel. We know they developed time travel. They had time travel as far back as the Pertwee era. And then, of course, they come across another race we don't know how it eventually came out, but they came up against the Time Lords and stood toe to toe with them. So they must have evolved incredibly to even get to that level.
So in an odd way, and I don't like to use this term because I don't want them to belittle the Daleks in the situation. They're kind of like the Borg of the universe. They kind of assimilate, look at what they've conquered, and take the best of it and go, okay, now we don't have to work on the static floor anymore. Now we can fly. We can go through space. We can go through time travel. So
that was one of the best lines tonight, though, was when they said the word Dalek is death to billions of races across the universe and everything. That was just awesome how they pulled that in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember there were some moments in script where Dalek Khan talked about exactly what you just said, Christian, about they literally gene spliced to, and he created an impure Dalek with the intention of creating a master Dalek, right? So if you really think about it, so I think that it's the possibility and evolution come from two different places. It's the evolution, which is natural, and then the one that comes from the fact that you're being genetically manipulated to become something else, right?
Right.
And every single time we see it, it's a different parallel universe. So maybe these iterations never meet each other until they're forced to. I mean, it's just kind of out there, I think. I don't think we have the bigger picture. I don't think anyone's ever pulled it together, but it would be great to see it. That would be an amazing episode or series, actually.
Well, what if you're the pure creation of something that was altered by somebody? I mean, that was created by somebody who is flawed. You're going to be in equal balance. That you are going to be flawed. And I think there was a little Star Trek episode, if I can't mistake, there was a robot. They tricked the robot and said you were made by humans, so you're flawed. Nomad. Thank you. And the Davros, who was human and evolved into what he became, and he created the Dalek. So that means there is no pure Dalek because it was created by a human who is flawed. So there cannot be perfection in something that was created in a flawed state. I'm really going deep on that one.
I know.
Also, fantastic though, because they're totally
advanced Doctor Who stuff. Here we go.
Right? Love it. I love it. I would love it so much to see a series where they take us to the backside and put this, just show us all of what we connect all the pieces basically. I would just love it.
If somebody could connect a couple pieces for me, because there's one thing in this episode that happened that I just went, huh? And then my brain just went, shut up, forget about it. We're just going to keep moving on and ride with this. How did they teleport? Why did like, they're curing?
The original Recon Dalek had that ability back in Resolution. Remember, he somehow teleported his 4 parts back together. And I'm assuming it's just a variant on that. That's how they did it.
Okay. That's why the light in the building was changing color. That's what the doctor did. Because it was the ultraviolet that was the teleporter.
Okay, because my brain just could not. I knew that they connected, but I couldn't see it. Like, why is this relevant to the other one? But okay, thank you.
So what do you guys think of Jodie in this one?
Also, it's not too far of a stretch because, as I said, we know the Daleks have developed like time technology and all that. Transmet technology would probably be nothing to them. So, given the fact that this whole thing was started by a young man who was infected by a Dalek, he did have the ability, to do all these things, which kind of made it neat.
Okay, why would he toy around with that? That kind of scared me off. That he just
people are the worst.
But he was I thought he was a nice guy. I'm just
as I put in the chat earlier, it all falls back to that line from Jurassic Park. Some people are so obsessed about whether or not they could, rather than worrying about whether they should.
I think the kid Leo really was about, maybe I can clone this life, and then he got into just kept falling down the rabbit hole of, it's intelligent. Well, what can I give it to feed that, and then realize I could cook it up to the system, and I could really see how it does, and not realizing now it's going to go ahead and make and then
he had that was running the system for him.
Classic Little Shop of Horrors situation.
Yeah. So curiosity killed the cat.
Feed me, Leo.
Pretty much, and then now.
And not one of us was shocked that he got killed by the Dalek.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I was like, oh no, he's gonna kill him. Damn it! All right.
Yeah, he was no longer necessary at that point. So it didn't shock
I loved
me.
when Jack ripped the Dalek off his face.
I was like, no, face hugger Dalek.
Alien throw the
Dalek. Like a face hugger Dalek. I'm like, oh my god! But when he pulled out his sonic blaster, I was so
the squareness gun. Yes. That was such a nice throwback to squareness gun. Yeah, I love that.
And I loved when he went to Yaz. Thank you. That's all I get is a thank you.
A lot of
She was like, nice shot. I was like, okay.
It's like, I almost felt like, are you compensating for something, Jack?
Feels like
that would have been an interesting conundrum in itself, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
What if Yaz had been hijacked by a Dalek? There's a dark tale you don't want to tell. Oh man.
We're getting to the end of our 30 minutes, so I just want to introduce any thoughts on John Bishop, because right now I was looking at his Wikipedia, and I remember when Bradley Walsh was introduced as a companion, people were like, whoa. And I think people are looking at this the same way with John, and I'm just saying, well, Bradley Walsh was phenomenal as Graham. He really took the role on, and he made it very enjoyable. And there's sometimes I kind of wish that the Doctor and Graham were just on, because the two of them could just play with each other. Is there, what was it? The Diodati episode? Is there a bathroom or something? Things like that just were Graham-esque. That signaturized him, but still made him a separate companion from everybody else. This is just the way Graham functioned. And I kind of felt bad about the episode where they kind of just went into, and this is where I kind of throw Chibnall under the bus every once in a while, or the bus kind of runs over him. The cancer thing. I'm like, well, you took a wonderful moment, and you just kind of let it fall down. And I just wish that.
Yeah, but how do you?
Getting angry again.
The question I keep putting to everybody is, you're functionally immortal. How do you even discuss a fatal illness with somebody? Especially an illness that your race probably cured thousands upon thousands of years ago. You see that? So in a way, I can see why he went in that direction, the way a lot of people didn't like the way it turned out. But at the same time, I have to look at it this way. You're talking to somebody who's over 2,000 years old, who comes from another planet. And even though we know the Doctor's demonstrated some incredible compassion and all that with the human race before, this incarnation of the Doctor was kind of relatively young in that body, and it just come out of a situation where he wanted to die. How do you sit there and discuss somebody's life and death when you yourself didn't even want to regenerate 5 minutes ago? You know, how do you really bring up that topic? So in a way, I can see why they went that direction and why a lot of people got turned off about it. But at the same time, I can see the argument.
I just don't see why it would have been brought up in the first place. Why it was, if you're going to put something in there, and again, this is just something against Chibnall. This is something you have a lot of stuff, you have a lot of arsenal to play with, and you decide to go this route. Okay, go this route, but go this route. You know, bring us onto the ride, or why does it just stop short of what it's supposed to be? You could really take this as far. And yeah, I get the point, Brian. I mean, it's a younger Doctor, but this is also the Doctor who has said all these wonderful things, who thrives on compassion. When the Fourth Doctor is in the Ark in Space, and he's saying about Homo sapiens, he's standing on the rock of on top of Stonehenge and just telling off his enemies. When he's over there in the Zygon speech and he's talking about this, at this moment she doesn't know what to say after 2,000 years of existence, having been in so many bodies and so many experiences and seeing people die. Is this another death or something of that nature? And she goes to the default, well, I'm a little bit, what was the term that she used?
Socially awkward.
Socially awkward. I'm like, the Doctor's naturally socially awkward. That we know that. But she also has the means of 2,000 years of experience, death, watching civilizations burn down, watching people, races wiped out. I think she would have known, if not anything, not just I'm socially awkward, but maybe a moment where, what, I don't know if I can help, but I'm here for you. And that is something that goes across all of the Doctors, not just hers.
A lot of people still are like, that was like one of the weakest points of the last season. And I know I'm looking at one of those people right now.
You're asking for a human moment from a non-human.
I'm asking for an actual good written moment from somebody who thought it was fun to write this as comedy and shoot it as comedy.
Exactly.
I will storyboard it and tell me that they weren't trying to be funny. I'm going, we'll make it lighthearted. The hell you did.
You can't do that with cancer.
There are moments
you can't.
Yeah,
It's kind of like finding a joke with COVID.
Nope. I know what you people were trying to do.
It didn't work here, but there were moments where Ten did the exact same thing and glossed over it with his own sense of humor and really didn't pay attention to the struggle, the emotional struggle of the other character. I know that because it's a big, huge issue I had in terms of how Ten acted with and reacted to Mickey. I'm telling you, it annoyed me to no end. It has always annoyed me because what 13 does with Graham, and mind you, Mickey's not facing a life-threatening illness. That's not what it is. And other characters weren't, but they were facing huge challenges. And for me, it was always an issue that RTD wrote 10 as glossing over these things and not and treating them as very offhandedly. So
secondary.
Yeah, as secondary, exactly. Will never forgive them for writing the way that they did for Mickey because it was absolutely horrible.
One of the moments that weirded me out most happened in the Moffat era, and that was in the Almost People. And if I remember towards the end of that, they know the young lady. She's actually a clone of the original, but
oh my god, yeah, I know what you're gonna say.
Oh, here's a cure. I'm sitting there thinking, wait, what? It's like, how many people have you known that have had fatal conditions? You didn't just whip out a magic cure from the console and hand it to him. So that kind of
all of a sudden did it happen, and I
really think that the scene between the Doctor and Ryan works so well, and with that, I think that was a lot more attention was paid to that particular scene because they saw that as we need to fix the Graham and Dr.
Yes.
Look how it's shot. It's shot more intimately. It's shot close. They're sharing the same frames at the same time. There's no you're not being shot back here where this is the room for physical comedy. This is where the drama's at. So you can see those micro expressions. You can see the intimateness. You can see the, the leaning over and that, where people are literally like pouring themselves out. They shot it like that. They did everything they did everything right. And I think this was a big, we need to make up for this because we need to make sure that we're actually expressing what we want to be expressing correctly.
I looked at my wife and I said the exact same thing. It's like, this is making up for that Graham scene right there.
Exactly. And the moment when they come into the huddle, the emotion of that huddle is not something that we've seen yet. Here we are 2 years with these characters and now we see it, but now they're leaving. So it was just like, okay, so whatever that awkwardness that you chose to overwrite for 2 solid years, you finally said, okay, now that they're leaving, we're going to put it where it needs to be. It should have been there a lot earlier than this. In a lot.
And from that huddle where the next scene, so you see the huddle from all their heads touching, and where they broke it before they broke, they went to the doctor's back, and you had Ryan's hand and Yaz's hands touching. So not only do you have Ryan saying goodbye to the doctor, you have his hand touching, having the touch between the two. Yeah. Those two characters are now have some type of moment also in a goodbye, because as Bruce kind of brings up later on, that he even thinks, and I think we all kind of had that conjecture of Graham might be back later on in the in the series, or at least in the season. Ryan probably not so much.
Well, folks, I do apologize, but Wizard World is kicking us out.
Sorry,
we want to thank our partners at Wizard World. We want to thank you all for joining us. If you want to follow us, Facebook.com, The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. Thank you, folks. We'll be back here next Tuesday. We're going to have a fun event. Guys, Happy New Year. Please stay safe and become part of the legend. Thank you, folks.
All coming back now.
Bye, everybody.